Good morning. Richard Lewald and Michael Beresford here this morning. We've got a very exciting topic, particularly as we're heading out of summer into the fall, and we're being challenged once again with flus, and people will get colds and all that. And what we have is a very exciting product here that is going to help you to combat, defend against flu, viruses, bacteria, molds, etc. And so here with me, I'm going to introduce Michael Beresford, who's been in the natural products business for quite some time. So Michael, let us know, tell us about yourself, first of all.
Sure. Yeah, well, I've been in the natural products industry for over 20 years now. My background is mainly creating products for the spa market, and we've always been very OCD about making products that are completely natural and completely safe without the use of any petroleum derivatives or synthetic ingredients. And a few years ago we decided to create a brand that was more appropriate for the natural health retail market, and so we have this brand called Chorus Supernatural, which has been on the market for a few years now. And one of the things we like to do is to source out exciting, effective products, particularly from British Columbia. And very recently we had the opportunity to be introduced to this amazing new product, which is based upon the therapeutic properties of a particular tree called Thuja plicata, which is also known as Western red cedarwood.
Right, and it's local British Columbia product, and all processed, and we've got some amazing backing on the particular product. So yeah, go ahead. So tell us about the source.
Okay, yeah. Well, actually, this originated from the Haida Nation in the coastal rainforests of British Columbia, and apparently the Haida peoples have been using this oil and the leaf, particularly the leaf of this tree, for treating colds and flus and other types of infections for hundreds and hundreds of years. And about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a few more years ago, a very eminent professor at the University of British Columbia called Professor James Robson, he heard about this story and decided to do some research on it. And over the last 5 or 6 years, he's conducted studies which show that when you vaporize this oil in a very particular way, and the oil has to be prepared in a very particular way as well, it has a very powerful effect on killing off bacteria, viruses, yeast and mold in the atmosphere, in the area where you place it. So it's a very powerful way to defend against any kind of pathological infections that could come, including colds and flus, within your apartment or in your bedroom, however you want to use it.
And what really twigged me when I talked to you there about it last time is that the proven studies that 99.9% of these viruses and molds and so on are actually eliminated when using this particular product. Studies and so on shows the effectiveness. So,
yeah, actually I have a couple of them here, Richard. This is a study conducted on the effect of the oil on respiratory viruses. It's published in a journal called the Journal of Applied Pharmaceutical Sciences in 2013. And it was conducted by Dr. Hudson, Professor Hudson. He's actually considered to be one of the top virologists in Canada, and it showed very clearly that the diffusion of this oil very effectively kills off viruses. We're talking like 100% kill off after a period of about 24 hours or even less. So you don't have to have this oil going for long periods of time. It can just be put on for intermittent periods in your house or your room, and it will kill off the bacteria and yeast and mold. As I said, it's not just viruses, but even things like staph infection, MRSA, other types of bacteria. It also has been shown to kill off yeast and mold, which can be a big problem for many people because sick building syndrome is very common now, particularly in older buildings. And so killing off the yeast and mold and other types of viruses and bacteria can have a very positive effect on that. And in fact, one of the other studies that this same professor published was specifically on the effects of this oil on decontamination for buildings. So what he's done is he's formed a company that has applied this technology using a specific patented piece of equipment that you plug into air conditioning system, into the HVAC system, and it pumps this cedar oil into very large areas. And what we've been allowed to do is to take the same technology and the same oil and use it for, or promote it for personal use in your apartment or your home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Smaller spaces and
Smaller
so on.
spaces, exactly, yeah.
So which is great because, I mean, you know, if people get home, there's families and downtime for families away from work, school. This is very costly to them. And who wants to be sick, right? Everybody loves to be healthy. So, well, I suppose it's when we deliver it in, well, as I noticed, it's called pure air system. A lot of these viruses and bacteria, they're basically airborne too. So first of all, I guess by nebulizing it, these little minute microscopic particles gets into the air and it carries off all over the place. It comes in contact with the viruses and bacteria and molds in the air. Yeah. And then it also gets deposited on surfaces, which is very important because sometimes we make contact with surfaces and then we'll pick up the virus or whatever. And so this is a pretty amazing way of doing it. I'm really excited about getting this out to the public, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of important points. One is that people often ask, well, can we just put it in a regular diffuser? And you can, but the research indicates that it's most effective when the oil is directly vaporized, not in water, because if it's put in a diffuser, then it gets mixed up with the water vapor, and it seems to be have a more potent effect when it's directly nebulized in the way that you've seen on the actual diffuser. The other important issue is that there are actually 3 different species of cedar wood out there, but it turns out that the active component in this oil is a substance called thujone. There's actually 2 components. One's called thujic acid, and one's called methyl thujone. And it turns out that those are the 2 key active ingredients which have those antimicrobial properties. And they've also found that the way that the oil is both the leaves. First of all, it has to be the leaves from the tree, not the wood. But the way that it's gathered and distilled is very, very important in the process. So first of all, the species of tree has to be this what's called Thuja plicata, which is western red cedar. And you have to have the leaves. Also, they found that the closer the trees are to the ocean, the higher the concentration of the thujone is in the tree. And secondly, it's really important that you only use the leaves, because what a lot of companies do is that they go in to areas where these trees have been felled, and they may have been lying on the ground for several days before they actually go to gather the leaves. And during that time, that can reduce the potency of the thujone. And also, very often, instead of actually just collecting the leaves, they'll shuck the leaves off the trees using some kind of equipment. And of course, then you get all the twigs and other bits of debris going in with the leaves, and that also reduces the thujone. And then the third thing is that it's important that the leaves are distilled at a very specific temperature. The distillation process that creates the oil has to be done at a specific temperature, because if it's too hot, then that also can damage the antimicrobial properties, because a lot of this oil is gathered primarily for its perfume properties, and they tend to distill it at a much higher temperature. And that, it turns out, even though it smells very similar, the actual thujone content is much lower. So the temperature also is very important. And the oil that we have that's used in all of these systems takes into account all these various considerations, and therefore has the maximum antimicrobial properties that you need for this kind of application.
Yeah, it's always in the entire process of, again, how it's collected and, take it from there, from when it's collected to all the way to the processing factor. And I know that when I use my energy wands to go check products, although other people say, me too, they got me too products as well, right? But we can always tell by the energy. And it's usually in the processes. Somehow something is different.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I know we've done a little test with this with the energy wands, and we can see that it's pretty amazing in the energy, and it's always, everything is energy.
Yeah.
And if it's got a lot of energy in there, we know it can do the job. So for me, that's what I'm very excited. So what about pets? I mean, people got cats and dogs.
Yeah,
and,
as far as I know, it's absolutely fine for them, because the nice thing is that you don't have to. A lot of people concerned about essential oils and pets because often there's just so much of the oil being diffused. The nice thing about this is that you don't need to have a lot of it in the atmosphere, so it's completely safe for children and pets as well. The other really nice thing about this product, for me, I think, is that it's a great way to support the Haida nations who discovered this in the first place. Right? They've known about this for hundreds of years, and all the oils that we use, the leaves are all gathered by Haida First Nations people, so it's really supporting their community as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I think it's a whole natural process. We're not destroying an environment when we're doing it. It's like strip mining or whatever.
Yeah.
We're actually working with natural products, doing things naturally, and providing ourselves with a natural defense system.
Right.
This is not poisoning ourselves with drugs, and we know that there's going to be, as we enter into the flu season, everybody gets on the bandwagon. Did you get your flu shot?
Right, yeah.
And we say, well, hey, listen, we can put a little shot in the air of this on a daily basis, or on the time sequence that we can set this nebulizer, and we get our defense there again without poisoning ourselves, side effects of vaccines and so on, and just a lot of controversy on vaccines. So, but
exactly.
What a great way of doing that. And when you mentioned too about, MRSA, I think people need to realize what MRSA is, unless you've forgotten. But that's kind of like flesh-eating disease, so that can be very deadly.
Yeah, this has been shown to kill off even MRSA bacteria too.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not just airborne, as you said, not just airborne viruses and bacteria, but basically any kind of pathogen like that seems to respond very, very effectively to this. And the research shows that some things, like some viruses, will just get killed within minutes, and then other ones may take a bit longer. But so after about a 24-hour exposure, then it just kills pretty much everything dead. So
wow,
it's pretty powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're talking about sick buildings. With incidences in the past of Legionnaire's disease, just molds, bacteria, and whatever else. They sit in air conditioning systems. There's mold around the windows, and it usually takes a little bit of time to get rid of the mold too. So if you live in a home and it's kind of older and it's had some mold effect, or what has happened is that sometimes there's a water leak in the wall. Water got in, and you always find when you got a thing like that, bathrooms, right? Leaks in the bathroom, in the walls. You find mold behind it, and so all this mold is just lurking in there. And on the surface, you might not necessarily see it, but again, if there's circulation able to move into that area and carry a bit of this product in there, right? It can also create a die-off, right?
Exactly.
Or if we know we've got concentrations of mold in a particular area, we can certainly miss that, more concentrated. The beauty is, it's not a built-in system. It's nice and small. You can have it for your own personal use in your bedroom, do the entire apartment, whatever, your suite. Exactly. Take it with you to work, perhaps, and help yourself out.
Well,
the employees or associates you're with at work, right? So,
yeah, the nice thing is that you can set with the diffuser, you can control it. So what we found is that if you have it on the lowest setting, and you can basically set it so it's on for 5, 10, 30 or 60 seconds, and then off for 5, 10, 30 or 60 seconds, and then you can put it on a timer for up to 2 hours. So using all these different controls, you can calibrate it to match the size of the area you want to decontaminate. So what we found is that just for a sort of small apartment, say about 1,000 square feet, you can set it on the lowest setting and just leave it, and it'll last. The oil will last about a month.
Okay.
So it's and then if you've got a much larger area, then you put it on a more powerful setting, and then you probably would need some kind of
ventilation.
some kind of ventilation, either just a fan in the air which will circulate around the area, or it may just be that you have a built-in HVAC system in your apartment, and that will do the job for you as well. So
and I mean, in a home, people who have heating system where it circulates the air.
Yeah, that will do the job.
Put the proximity of that, and then it will just take care of that.
Exactly, yeah.
I guess really what it gets down to, people are always looking at economics, on the system. But I tell people, like, your health is your wealth. You can have all the money in the bank, but if you're not doing well, and just like, who wants to be sick again? And we're looking at very minimal cost to really own one of these, right? And then have it work for you. So it can be anywhere from 1 to 2 bottles a month, perhaps, that people need to run it through these major flu seasons, which is roughly how much on a 10 ml bottle?
The 10 ml bottle runs at $29.90. And so that, as I said, in an average sized apartment, that will last the whole month.
Okay. Roughly 1,000 square feet.
Roughly 1,000 square feet, on the lowest setting. And then as you get to larger areas, then you would want to obviously increase the potency of the diffusion by using a different setting on the diffuser. The actual device itself, we sell that for $149.90 with the first bottle of the oil. So, and then of course once you've got the diffuser, then that will last you for years and years and years. So it's just a matter of, and you don't really need to use it outside.
All the time,
you just during the season when
unless you've got a mold.
Unless you've got a mold type of issue, or you're concerned about other things like MRSA and so on.
Right.
So it's very viable.
Really, if people can break it down, it's like, let's say, from $1 to maybe to $2 a day, that we can operate it, and many people go and having a cup of coffee, so they spend more on coffee,
exactly.
And that would be to keep themselves healthy, right? And how many other health supplements, and when people get down with the flu, or they'll go and buy vitamin C and vitamin D and many things, and now you're looking at the cost. So prevention is always the key. I always tell people, because if you don't have to go there, why? And so we're showing people the how-tos. I think we have the whys of why we want to do it, but now it's the how-tos, and it's very simple to do, and it's very cost-effective. So, this is a wonderful tool. Any additional points you want to maybe make from the studies there? You mentioned about the professors.
Yeah, just a little bit of background again on him. Professor Hudson, James Hudson, he's a world-renowned virologist. He's considered to be the top virologist in Canada, and he works at the Department of Pathology at the University of British Columbia. And it was him who first heard about this, the story about the Haida Nations peoples and how they've used this leaf for centuries for this purpose of killing off viruses and bacteria. Of course, they probably didn't know much about the actual sort of medical details of that, but whenever they got colds, they just knew it worked, and so he got to hear about it and decided that it would be a really good topic of investigation, and he spent the last, as I said, 5 to 7 years doing all this very, very intensive research on, collecting different types of bacteria in vials and releasing them into the air and into areas, and then diffusing these oils and actually making direct measurements on how much of these viruses or bacteria are dying off, and they've got all these graphs showing how quickly it happens, and what level of effectiveness it has, and it's like, as I said, it's like 99.9% effective in most cases.
And it's not just done in a petri dish.
No, it's done.
It's done in an environment.
Yes,
actually.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very the research behind it is extremely compelling.
Right.
A lot of these types of things, may be effective, but they don't have that level of scientific backing that this does, and I think that gives people, that sort of added, it gives it a lot of credibility.
And there's been commercial application already for how many years now?
Oh, yeah, several years. Professor Hudson, he has a company, or he works as a consultant for a company that has a patent now on a system that diffuses this oil directly into HVAC systems in industrial applications. So they're using it in hotels and restaurants and factories to decontaminate the environment there. So It's quite exciting that we've been able to get this same oil of the same quality, and I should say also that it's a certified organic oil. It's
that's important.
Yeah,
we're not spraying chemicals in
yeah,
there.
it's USDA certified organic, and it has all kinds of other certifications that it's been awarded. So you know, there are other sources of the same oil that you can buy, but they won't have the same degree of potency and effectiveness that this one does. And so yeah, we feel it's just a very exciting product overall that needs to get out there, right?
Right.
So we feel very honoured to be able to do that. Sure.
Well, this is the initial launch, really, of this particular product with its method.
It is. It's very, very new.
For personal use rather than a commercial industrial use. And that's really exciting. So flu season is here. And, you know, everybody can right now take action on this. So what we're doing is we're going to recommend it. It will be the product, the diffuser, nebulizer will be on your website, my website as well, bioenergywellnesscare.com, and then you're going to have it on your website, and people can look at it. And what we're doing is we're going to have an exciting offer as well to people who take action from what they see here today. And please, always what we say is like it, share this information. You know, people need to hear about it, right? And the more people can at least consider this, gives them another option. And we're going to have a special offer available with a discount. So, Michael, what's the offer?
Yeah, we'll be able to, during this launch phase, which will be in the next week or so, we'll have the system on for 15% discount. So it'll be the diffuser and the oil, normally $149.90 together, and we'll have a 15% discount on that using that code.
Okay, Bioenergy Wellness. Okay, use that as the promo code, Bioenergy Wellness, and receive your 15% discount. So, you know, take action. Love you for being with us today, and please share as well.